TSPN. And now, today's Seniors Living Well with your host, Laurie Webb.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Seniors Living Well. This is our fit and safe theme, and we've been talking about ways to stay fit mentally, emotionally, and physically, and safe. We've had some very good tips about things that you can do to stay in your home longer and still be safe, and we'll be going in that direction again today with Tanya from Lifeline. And we're going to be touching on all the wonderful services that we have in Amador County. We've got a guest again from the hospital to talk about some of the new new technologies being used there, and really wonderful guests for our senior segment today. But I want to start out with my first wonderful guest, who is my friend Caela White. Hi, Caela. Thanks for coming in this morning. Caela is the Director of Patient Care Services for our wonderful local hospice. And how long have you been the nurse doing that?
I've been 6.5 years as a director, and I've been there for 11 years as a nurse.
Wow, that's wonderful. And the hospice has been around, 28 years, I think, because I remember when we moved up here, I was kind of thinking about hospice, but they weren't really organized then.
You were volunteer,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and now you're really well organized.
Yes.
Not only really well organized, but also
trying to
perfect.
be. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, the survey you all just had. Now that was a state survey?
It was a state survey, but they report back to the feds. So it ended up being a state survey and a Medicare survey, all in one.
And you got a perfect score.
We did.
Unheard of.
It is unheard of, yes.
That's just great. And that just speaks to what a really strong staff, volunteers, administration, everybody.
Yeah, it takes the whole team.
It does.
Yeah.
And the community is very supportive of hospice too, I
Yes.
think.
Oh, absolutely. We have huge support in both communities, Amador and Calaveras.
Right. You're doing Calaveras now too.
Mhm.
So, yeah, most of my contact with hospice has been, professional as a home health nurse dealing with.
Yeah, we've worked together on quite a few patients over the years.
Got to be really good friends with your weekend nurse there for a while.
Yes.
And recently I had a personal kind of experience. My son-in-law's father is in Boise, and he is very ill. And he's always been a very vital man, but he had like this whole cascade of 2 strokes and a heart attack. And then when they were doing one of the MRIs or something, they found a mass in his lung. And this man who's never smoked has lung cancer. And Jerry is 78, and he said, I'm done. I'm done. Take me home and call hospice. Now, is that how it usually works for someone coming onto hospice? Or can you talk a little about how somebody gets hospice services?
A lot of referrals or a lot of startup to hospice comes from the hospital. They find something in the hospital, and someone says, I just want to go home. Let's just go home. But that's not the only way. We get calls from neighbors, from daughter-in-laws out of town. We get calls from doctors. The hospital, home health gives us referrals. And it can be anybody can call and just say, hey, this, they just don't seem like they're doing very well. Can we find out a little bit more about your services? And a lot of those types of calls really end up being helping someone get onto our services. Just inquiries about, how does it work, and how can you help us? We need help. A lot of it comes.
How can we get you here?
Yeah, we need help. What is it going to take? Yeah. And what we end up doing is getting an okay from their physician or our medical director, and going out and meeting the patient and getting to see what's going on with them, doing a little research on what they've been through, whether it's been, a couple falls, losing weight, to finding a mass or something like that. And if it all lines up to where it's time for hospice, whether it's they've got a 6 months or less diagnosis, or they are a couple days, when it's time, then we send in the team.
Send in the team. And and people do wait sometimes. I mean, I think it's really sad when we hear somebody went on hospice and then died 2 days later, and they didn't really get the full benefit of your services.
Right. And that is something that we are always striving to get in sooner and help people sooner. And so that's why we really encourage people to call. Even if they're even if they think it's way too early, just call, get to know us. We keep people, we follow up with people monthly sometimes. And if it's too early for hospice, but they want to make sure we're ready when they're ready, when they start to decline. We want to start that conversation, even if it's a year ahead of time.
Ahead of time, sure. And just because someone from your team comes out and talks to you, you're not committing to anything.
No,
it's just like, and I can imagine that would be a real advantage to the hospice team too, because then you have that family in your mind, and you know which services are going to be useful to them eventually. And we know that nursing and the pain control is a huge thing.
That's huge. We have that, but we also have any type of symptom management. You have a loved one who's not sleeping, they're agitated, restless. Those kind of symptoms is something that hospice is really good at too. Not just pain. Sometimes people think, I'm not in pain. I don't.
Right. Yeah.
And so, so that's kind of the nursing side. But we have hospice aides that come out and bathe. We have social workers that do so many things.
Yeah,
I mean, they're there to either listen or find resources for you, help you get caregiving. I mean, help you get your Medi-Cal started if you've never done that. I mean, there's so many things that they do, and our social worker team they just know how to think outside the box and find what you need. And
they're really creative.
Yes, they are. They are.
And that's a good thing about Amador County too. They know which resources to contact. And I think maybe not a week goes by that Common Ground or us don't get a call. I mean, you guys provide a lot of services, but there are a lot of resources that you can't provide, like transportation and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can't. So we work with our community programs and always trying to come up with something because every home we walk into has different issues and different things that they might need. So it's not the same. Everyone is different. Everyone dies differently. Everyone lives differently. They have different needs. And so we have a big group of people that know how to figure out what they need. And so we have chaplains.
And you have volunteers that go in and provide respite for the caregivers.
Yes, we do.
That's
we
great.
have amazing volunteers, and they have to go through training and monthly training, and they have to stay up on all their in-services to continue to be volunteers, and they do it all on their own time. And so, we have a huge volunteer base, and they do a great job.
That's always awesome to see the volunteer appreciation dinner for hospice is 200 people or something like that. Because you've got your two thrift stores too. Yeah. Funny story about my granddaughter and the home health aide that was taking care of her Grandpa Jerry. I asked her how Grandpa Jerry was doing, and she was a little reluctant to talk at first, and then she said, well, they have a nurse coming every day to help Grandma Edie cook and clean. And you know what, Grandma Lolo? Grandpa Jerry's in his bed all the time, and one of the nurses gave him a bath in his bed. Isn't that crazy? And I said, well, I learned how to do that in nursing school, but I haven't done it for a long time. She was kind of quiet for a minute. We were on the phone, and she was kind of quiet for a minute. She goes, I just think that's crazy. But it was really good, I think, for as hard as it was, for her to be exposed to that piece of life. I mean, she's been around even a baby being born, but being around someone who's going on the other side is, So the thrift stores use a lot of volunteers too.
Yes, they do.
And there's one in Angels Camp and one here in Jackson, so that's good.
Yeah, they're wonderful, and all the. I think I hear it all the time, but people say, "Oh, we love hospice. We give to hospice," and I think that it's really neat that we have the thrift stores to help people feel like they're part of hospice too, because even if you don't have time to put in all those hours to be volunteer or have the training to do the type of hospice care that we provide, you can give and be part of it through the thrift store.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
and feel a part of what hospice does by donating and shopping. And I
That's
do too. I
wonderful.
love all the.
Well, we have, Virginia, our producer, she makes these magical outfits out of things she finds at the thrift store. They're really beautiful. They look like. So, and at the thrift stores this coming weekend, we're going to have the tree lightings.
Yes.
And to be honest, folks, we don't have all the details on that, but you can call 223-5500 and talk to the nice person, a real person that answers the phone there, and they will give you the details about the lighting. These trees, the candles each represent somebody that's had hospice care.
Yes, and it's a wonderful event, a memorial. I've been several times, and I just love there's music and remembrance, and the names are posted of people, so it's
it's a lovely, uplifting thing, really.
Yes.
I have a friend who hasn't had she said, I didn't have anybody die this year, but I'm going. So so if someone wants to know about hospice, they can call that number too.
Yes, absolutely.
So 223-5500. Is there anybody specific they should ask for?
You can always just ask if you're wanting to know more about hospice services, and if it's time for your loved one to come onto our services, just ask for any nurse. There's always a nurse. Anytime you call that number, you will get a nurse within a few minutes.
A few minutes,
So,
even on the weekends too,
Yes.
because Mark's there.
yes,
or whoever's working out.
We have 2 nurses on every 24/7.
That's great.
Yeah, so.
Well, Caela, thanks for being here this morning. All right, you guys, keep your pencils handy and stay tuned. We'll be back to talk about Lifeline after the break.
Kit Carson,